Yeah. Holiday music doesn't sound like holiday music used to, but we're coming up on the holidays. Like it or lump it, they happen every year. And some of us, we don't like them very much. Why? Well, because they could mean a couple different things. They could mean spending money, having to go to people's houses we don't like, having to hang out with people we don't like, having to be a secret Santa at work, which we don't like. But we do it because that's what you do. You suck it up at the holidays. Why? Well, unfortunately, besides all that, besides all the rigmarole of Christmas and acting like we're in post-war Russia where they stand in line for hours upon hours to get bread, yet we stand in line for hours and hours to get iPads. No. Sorry, you won't find me standing in lines like that. Rides at a theme park? Maybe. Rides that aren't going anywhere? No, thank you. But the holidays, they are coming for us. Just my little walking feet. They're not walking very well. So what do? Well, some of us really suck at wrapping gifts. Yes, I'm sure you can see behind me I have such great skills in wrapping things. So if you want a gift wrapped right, there are some really fancy ways to go about it. Just don't ask me to do it, because it won't look right at all. No, it won't. So, that said, we're going to dive into the holidays a little bit here as we are nearing them. And as lots of people, they got to get through them. They got to get through them with and without people in their lives. And that can be sad because sometimes there are people we want in our lives. So that said, I would like to share with you an article that was shared with me in our www.celebrationsoflifemagazine.com. You will find it on the Kids and Coping page in the current November issue. Now, most of us haven't yet possibly had to deal with the holidays without a loved one. Some of us are old pros at it by now, I'm sure. And some of us, it's still too fresh. It's still too painful. We haven't quite stepped over that hurdle yet. I know this year in particular is going to be very hard for a lot of us because it's just 2020 and it just keeps giving. So I would like to share a little bit about this article. This is from hammondpsychology.com. They were gracious enough to share this article with us in the current, again, November issue of the website. If you missed it, don't worry. I generally post the whole scene of the issue closer to the end of the month when we start to reboot and get up the new month ahead. So, this will be in the YouTube stream for the upcoming November issue. As you are currently now listening, if you're not seeing, this is the Grief and Potluck podcast. So welcome. If you're new here, my name is Ginger. I host and I have created the www.celebrationsoflifemagazine.com. I know you're like, why the W's? Enough already. Because it's important to put you on the right page. Otherwise, you'll be going off into the bliss of the internet. So, that said, let's dive in. Dealing with holidays without a loved one. The anticipation of the holidays without your loved one is often harder than the holiday itself. This is especially true during the first year after losing someone. Even years later, the grief and pain can surface during the holidays. With that in mind, here are some ways you can cope with experiencing the holidays when your loved ones are no longer with you. Don't dismiss your feelings or the feelings of your friends and family members because grief is a strange thing. Some people try to gloss over the fact that Uncle Bill or Cousin Susie isn't at the table, and this can be awkward for everyone in the room. So, acknowledge their absence and let anyone who wants to share their feelings do so. If children are involved, it's even more important that you allow open discussions of feelings. When a child loses a loved one, they need to know it's safe to talk about how it's impacting them. Ask questions, let them share their thoughts, and really listen to their responses. Now, Dr. Hammond also has a book on Amazon called The Practical Guide to Raising Emotionally Healthy Children. There's a link here on the website, but again, the book is called The Practical Guide to Raising Emotionally Healthy Children. Her name is Dr. Hammond. That's with 2 M's. Now, going forward, we're going to highlight the article. I thought I linked it. You know, I'm perfect in only so many ways. So here you'll find on the website of hammondpsychology.com, dealing with the holidays without a loved one. So as I stated, there was permission granted, so the first part is a given. But let's move forward with the article so we get a little bit further into these details. So again, share memories. Don't just pretend that they're just not there. You have to acknowledge it. Otherwise, it's just straight up awkward. And children need to know that it's okay to express their feelings. So some of the things that you can do during the holidays to help get you through, whether this is the first year, the first month, you're 20 years in, however it is, you're going to experience it differently as grief is different for everybody. So you'll share fond memories. You can make an ornament to capture that special loved one. Also, good advice here is avoid doing too much, because especially in the first year after a difficult loss, you can do too much. So try not to do too much. Why? Well, because too much is too much. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to underdo it. You definitely don't want to stress yourself out. There is enough stress in the holidays. Now, personally, I've only experienced stress at the holidays very few times. I do my super best. I really do. To avoid that stress. How, you say? How is it possible? Well, I try to get a jump on things. So we're in November. And how does that play out for December? Well, you know there's going to be Secret Santa junk rolling around. If you don't know who you are Secret Santa-ing to, find that out as soon as possible. If you've got white elephant crises coming up, Start stocking up. Any of those silly doorbuster savings, go for it. If you've been a crazy smart shopper, which normally I know somebody in my family that is, and they will stock up on random gifts. But considering what year it is, not so much. But you might have randomly gone to the store, saw that $10 item, and said, mine, done. Kudos. Kudos to you. But in case you didn't, don't overthink the shopping, okay? Gift cards are pleasant. I don't care who says you didn't put any thought into it. The fact of the matter is, you're undergoing a lot of stress already dealing with the loss of a loved one. Why would they care that you didn't go out of your way, stand in line for an hour, and shop hard? I don't care. They shouldn't care. So, you can tell them, Ginger said, this is how it's going to be. Okay? This is what you're going to get. This is how it's going to roll. Don't flip and make me think harder than this is. You know, I mean, they put out all those holiday flyers for children. Yeah, well, I receive a holiday flyer with circled gifts so that I, as the auntie, will get my job done. Job done. Don't make you think harder than it has to be. So besides not stressing out over the perfect gift, because there's no such thing, be sure to give yourself your own time. Like, is it 7 o'clock? It's time for cocoa. Oh yeah. I would be all about that 7 o'clock cocoa run. Because you chill, you relax, you enjoy. I don't know about you, but I'm a marshmallow girl. More than one, definitely going in my cup. For sure. Give yourself extra time. Give yourself extra care. People aren't going to tell you to suck it up and move on. And if they do, those are the people you need to put dead last in any list of things you have. Christmas cards, gift giving, I don't care. But those people need to go dead last in the back. Put them in your trunk. Because if they tell you to suck it up, they're not you. Maybe they're over it. Good for them. But you're not. And you're still dealing and you're still healing. So you take time for you. Because, again, everybody grieves differently. Okay? Also, if you've really struggled and you're really not feeling that you can talk about it, if you're not feeling that you're connected to people, seek out professional help. That's why they exist. At some point in our lives, finding professional help is necessary. If you are struggling with the loss of a loved one, because maybe you don't have any immediate family around, or maybe you have all kinds of immediate family around and they're smothering you. You don't want to be smothered. You just want time. You want space. But you want to figure out some steps. That's fine. Seek out professional help. That's why they're there. What they look like, how they act, you have to feel it out. If you aren't comfortable in that environment, if you go through, say, 2 sessions and you're like, I just don't, something's about this person. Okay, fine, switch. Don't ignore your gut instincts. Please do not ignore your gut instincts. Take this from someone who did just that. Don't ignore your gut instincts. You will lose them after X amount of time, and it will take a long time for them to come back. Trust your gut. If you're not comfortable with a therapist, pick another therapist. It's okay. If you're not sure where you're going in life now because you've lost your loved one, seek out a life coach. There are people. There's lots of resources. I will be getting these resources together over time. I will be acquiring more knowledge, as hopefully you will too, as we're on this journey together. And hopefully we will learn the right people for the right tasks in dealing with this circumstance. Because it used to just be, you die, you go to the funeral home, and you're put in the ground. But back that up a bit, there's a lot behind the scenes that we don't know about. So some people now these days are peeling back the curtains so we see what's going on. So we see what's going down within the funeral homes. So we're not alone. Okay? There's also a lot of steps that you're going to have to take. Those are things we're going to go through. But right now I wanted to share with you a little bit further in regards to dealing with the loss of a loved one, in regards to the holidays coming up. So again, that was Dr. Hammond with 2 M's. And the book is called The Practical Guide to Raising Emotionally Healthy Children. The Practical Guide to Raising Emotionally Healthy Children. Because the November issue covers kids and coping with death, along with her article. She has some great pointers in the extended version of her article, which you can see the link there on the website and go to it. So again, if you're having trouble coping, seek professional help. Counselor, someone who's unbiased, someone who's not connected to your family at all. I mean, that's refreshing, trust me. Yeah. Because you're telling your side. They can pick up on different things. Some are very intuitive. They're there for you. If you're having difficulty, they're there to help you walk through these things. Don't avoid them. They're very helpful people. If the one you like is good, go for it. If you're not comfortable with it, change, pick out a new one. No big deal. Again, avoid doing too much at the holidays. You can overwhelm yourself. You're already overwhelmed. Why stress out? There's enough to stress out about the holidays. Okay? You'll end up on a chocolate chip cookie diet like I did at some point, and that's no good for nobody. It's no good for nobody. Except the chocolate chip cookies. Unfortunately, they're too good. So, yeah. Avoid doing too much. And don't bake those cookies. No. Nummy. Cocoa moments. Probably a little less fattening, but that might just be my opinion. Share your memories. Of course, they're no longer sitting with you at the table. Don't just glaze over it like they weren't ever there. Talk about your feelings. Talk about your memories. It's okay. And if kids are there, let them share too. Because that's important. Because kids, they're pretty much from the mouth of babes. Yeah. Some pretty interesting things do fall. It's so quite telling sometimes about, I don't have any specific example, but if you've been in that circumstance, you're like, oh, did that kid just say that out loud? Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Now, don't ask me to gift wrap. It'll just be a disaster. But on the bright side of all that, hopefully I didn't just lose my spot in this book, we are going to start a book club. So, as I've stated various times in various Grief and Potluck podcasts, you are not alone. So, here we are. This book All Set for Black, Thanks, is by Miriam Weinstein. And this is a book that we're going to talk about in January. And we are super blessed to have the author herself. I know. I'm excited to come and talk to us too. So, this is a fun book which gives light to morning. It addresses topics including the meaning of life, whether sushi might be better than casseroles, how to write the best eulogy ever, and how we keep our dead with us even as we let them go. It covers a year in which the author went to way too many funerals. Luckily, she always had a good black dress. So, I'm going to read a little excerpt. Page 91. So, All Set for Black, Thanks, by Miriam Weinstein. For our January book club. So, if you want to join in, get the book, borrow the book, check it out from your library, find it on Kindle somewhere. It exists in the world. I think I found this one on eBay. Yes, I did. Found this one on eBay. eBay. I found it on eBay. Okay, don't ask. I have not had a drop to drink tonight. No, it was not. It was just Pepsi. Okay. Page 91. What to do with inherited treasure. Yeah. Saving just enough of the stuff. My sister's son was getting married, and after only one totally depressing shopping excursion that my sister and I went on together, my sister struck out on her own and managed to find a dress that looked good, made her feel good, was bought at an outlet, and would probably work okay with the bridesmaid dresses. Fingers were crossed. The sales lady, who my sister reported used to work bridal, suggested either silver jewelry or pearls. Pearls I had. Many pearls. I had never worn any of them. Pearls are so not in my vocabulary, but they have been sitting somewhere in my jewelry box. For years and years, since the death of my great-grandmother, mother, and two childless aunts. The stuff left behind by the dead grows larger and larger. And I don't just mean the size or amount. Each individual piece grows in meaning, taking up more and more psychic space. It hardly matters whether you like it or not. It belonged to them, we think, and we need it, deserve it, or at least obliged to conserve it. Naturally, there are variations in how rationally families handle the question of who gets what. In one family, after a death, each person got to write down 2 things that they wanted. Interestingly, these were mostly not the big ticket items, and they were enough favorites to go around, just in case it might be helpful to agree on some principle of arbitration beforehand. Some old people asked their offspring to let them know ahead of time. The mother of a friend of mine did this. All went well until after the death. They turned over the requested items and found, as she had described it, post-it notes on the bottom. Except the post-it notes were layers thick. Yet another family gathered for the reading of Aunt Gigi's will. Unfortunately, it was barely legible. What had begun as a neatly typed document had been crossed out and scribbled over so many times that it was anyone's guess what Aunt Gigi actually meant to leave to whom. But enough about them. Let's get back to me. In the lead up to my nephew's wedding, most of the joy I inherited is pretty much worthless. But there were those pearls, the kind of things I'm sure you are supposed to count as family heirlooms. How nice it would be for my sister to wear them, I thought. Maybe they would give her a boost as she stands at the seaside venue with her ex-husband and her ex-husband's younger and more fashion-conscious wife. Well, we're all grown-ups here. I don't have to explain how life spools out. In my drawer, I found a couple versions of pearls and what looked like they would be suitable for a child. Each option, single strand of very tiny yellowing pearls. Totally useless for our purposes here. But then I saw a double strand choker, good sized pearls with a plain gold clasp. Those would have been my grandmother's, and they would be perfect. I held them up to my neck, and the thread, which had turned brown at the end, broke, and the pearls scattered all over the floor. The broken thread, the scattered jewels, spare me the hot symbolism. So now, what was I to do? Pay good money to get them restrung? And then they would be what? Totally generic pearls, so out of date, so not like what we wear, that once belonged to a woman for whom they may or may not have been a deal. A woman who understood both the draw of beautiful things and the absolute beside the pointness of them. And who knew if my sister even wanted them? But maybe someone else would want them one day. The next generation, my nieces and my daughter, all stand proudly at the pearls. Are you kidding? End of the spectrum. But perhaps by the time my own granddaughters grow up, fashions will have changed so much, or the pearls will have just become so very old that they will once again be cool. Or at the very least, a remnant of a person so long dead that somebody will want to put them in the back of her own drawer. But if we follow that line of reasoning, do we save every little thing? The 3-foot-tall china dog that belonged to my Aunt Jenny, my mother's cracked dish, which I used to hold the sponge of the kitchen sink. Okay, I like the colors. But what if I have never known her? Would I want to be lugging around a cracked old dish? How about a baggie of restringable pearls? Our attic contains the very large painting my grandmother made when she was in her 80s. Why are they there? To be honest, because no one else wants them. It also holds the snare drum my husband took as a remembrance of his Uncle Seymour. Do you know what I think of a snare drum? Or what Peter thinks of the paintings? Of course you do. The Afghan, however, is another story. One summer, my grandmother had my sister and me crochet squares, each one a bright primary color. Our first attempts were dreadful, but eventually we improved. She even upped the squares, added a border, and lined the lining with soft blue wool cloth. The squares are wildly dissimilar, but it is still my nap covering of choice. Peter favors an Afghan knitted by the psychoanalyst he saw during his teenage years. She crocheted while he free associated. But when we, or more likely our children, do our final cleaning, I am guessing those two Afghans will be some of the first things to go. So, stuff. I look forward to too much stuff in my future. Well, again, this is Grief and Podcast. Potluck. I can't talk today. Grief and Potluck Podcast. Today, we talked about coping with the loss of a loved one around the holidays. We didn't dive too deep, but there are resources out there. Article on the website under www.celebrationsoflife.com. You can see it for yourself. I'm going to click back over there. Give us a second. We're going to get you over there. Ooh, there we are. Dealing with holidays without a loved one. Okay? You can do it. You're not alone. We're going to be starting a book club. All Set for Black, Thanks, by Miriam Weinstein. This will be interesting. This will be really cool. And I'm really excited to say that, again, we have the author will be coming on in January as we discuss the book. So that'll be good times. You too can hop on the Zoom call. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So that information will be posted in the January issue of the magazine. So excited about that. And in the new year, aka the end of December before the first of the new year, that will be posted there too. Okay? Super. Yes, I was depressing a yawn. I couldn't help it. So, thank you again for joining us. My music, sorry, it went away this time. I gotta get it up and running again. Yes. So, take care. Stop by and visit again. We come around definitely once a week, sometimes twice a week. Good stuff. Thanks so much. Check us out soon. Grief and Potluck Podcast. This is Ginger. Have a great, wonderful day.